Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be doing the 2018 beauty favorites, which is absolutely insane. I was going through my videos and the things I'm loving and my favorites and get ready with me's, and it feels like yesterday was 2017. I'm not quite with the 2019 train just yet, but going through the year, it was so insane to see like how much my makeup favorites stayed the same, but also how they changed so much and like how my looks changed. Like my hair was completely to here and bleach blonde at the beginning of 2018. So the style has changed, my face has changed. There's many more Shirleys saying hello, but I thought it would be fun to do a 2018 beauty favorites while putting my favorites on my face. This is actually something I haven't done before. I don't normally put the products on as I talk through them, but I've seen the trend going around and I thought I'd hop on board. So I'm going to be showing you all of the things that I have loved throughout the year. And if you're new to my channel, this is a great way for you to see the roundup of all the products I've been loving and using throughout the year. And for those of you who have been with me throughout 2018, then you probably know every single product that is going to be in this video. That's what we're going to be doing today. I also wanted to compare it to my last year's favorites. I have my computer. Yeah, a lot of them are different. A few of them are the same, but it's pretty cool. I don't know. All right, let's rock and roll. For primers, there were actually 3 primers that I used a lot throughout the year. The main favorite is definitely going to be the Smashbox primerizer, which I have used and loved. That was last year's favorite as well. I've gone through so many bottles of these. It is so insanely moisturizing on the skin. If you have dry skin, this will be your best friend. It just adds such a nice thick layer of succulent moisture on the skin, and I like to apply this before my makeup because I feel like when my skin is moisturized, the makeup just sits and lasts much longer than if I used any other kind of primer. If I could only have one primer in my life, this would be it, and that is definitely a huge favorite from this year. But I have to give a shout out to these 2 kind of bronzing products that I also used throughout the year. This was the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion. I went through an entire bottle of this. This is my second bottle. And also the Drunk Elephant D Bronzi Sunshine Serum. This one I used so much over the summer and continuing into the fall. I haven't been using it so much lately just because I am super pale now, but often when I use it, I'll take a little drop of it and mix in the primerizer and just rub that into my skin for an extra warm glow. I took this with me to Europe over the summer and it's just so beautiful. It adds a really nice layer of bronze. I feel like I've just gone to more of a skincare side. I like that the Drunk Elephant is a skincare product as well. I've been using this one over this one, but this is an excellent dupe for a bronzy, glow-giving product. So for foundation, last year my foundation favorites were the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric Foundation and the Glossier Perfecting Skin Tint. The skin tint has definitely carried through for this entire year. I have not stopped using that. Power Fabric, I just had a really dark shade in it and I just haven't gone back to it, but I'd be really curious to try it again. I think at the beginning of this year, I was really into the IT Cosmetics CC cream. I'm not including that in my favorites now because I found it just got really, it's a very thick formula, but it also stays sticky on the skin. So while I love the look of it, I just didn't like the feeling. It never settled into the skin. It just stayed sticky throughout the day, and if you would touch your face, you'd have like a layer of foundation. So that's kind of why I've stopped using it. And I think that my most consistent favorite throughout the year was definitely the MAC Face and Body Foundation. I have this one in C2. It's beautiful. I've raved about this one for years. It's hopped right back in the forefront of my foundation favorites. And then more recently, like in the last month or so, I've started using the Clinique Even Better Glow, which has definitely been a huge favorite towards the end of the year, but throughout the year, MAC Face and Body takes it, so I'm going to apply this. It's a lovely light coverage foundation. When it sets into your skin, it looks and feels like skin, and it just has a really nice light layer of coverage that evens out the skin tone. And I like to apply this with my fingers. I feel like it gets a little bit tacky, like you have to work it in pretty quickly, and that's why I find that the fingers are the best way to apply this one because it just warms it up so nicely and you can blend it in. For concealer, I had quite a few concealer favorites from this year. Last year it was the Soft Matte Complete Concealer from NARS, which has continued true. I've continued to use this throughout the year. I have the shade 2.75 Cannelle. I love it. This is a beautiful matte concealer that doesn't dry out your skin and doesn't get flaky and cakey and settle into any lines. So if you're looking for that matte, very natural skin-like finish, this one's gorgeous. A huge standout product that was new this year and new to me this year was the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. This is the concealer I'm going to use today because I actually haven't used it in a while. and I wanted to revisit it, and because this was the main standout favorite from the year, I felt like I had to include this, and I'm going to put quite a bit on because I do have a lot of spots. My favorite way to use this is with a beauty sponge. This is the Real Technique sponge, so I'm just going to apply some layers of this. It's a very, very full coverage concealer, but I find that even though it is full coverage, especially when you use it with a sponge, you can't tell that it's full coverage. You can't really see it on your skin. It just blends out so nicely. And while I'm blending this in, I have to give a shout out to the LC Cosmetics concealer because this one was a discovery towards the end of this year. I got my hands on this in November, so it wasn't necessarily a yearly favorite. I'd say I've used this and the Too Faced concealer the most out of any concealer on a daily basis. I mean, I tend to go for lighter concealers in the summertime or when I'm in a hot destination. This and the Too Faced were my two favorite kind of discovery this year. They have a pretty similar finish. I think the Too Faced one is just a little bit more full coverage than the LC, but in terms of how they actually look and feel on the skin, I find them quite similar. Anyway, I'm blabbing. This is the concealer. I just put that all over my face and it just gives such a flawless finish, but it doesn't look thick on the skin at all. I love this Born This Way concealer. I think it was such a fabulous launch from them. For powder, I was hopping through a few powders throughout the year, but I think the biggest standout was the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder. Love this one. It's great if you have dry skin and you don't want to get that tightness, but you do just want to make sure that your concealer is set in and that you're not getting too shiny. Like I get really shiny on my nose, but around my mouth gets very, very dry and tight. So I love that I can apply this powder all over and not worry about feeling any like kind of extra dryness or tightness. It's a lovely powder. The packaging is absolutely gorgeous. And last year my favorite was the Glossier Wowder, which I actually haven't used in a while. I still have it. I just have this one and I feel like I have the Charlotte Tilbury one out right now on rotation. I just kind of rotate between the few powders that I use and love and the powders that are good for dry skin, and this was a favorite from this year. They're all favorites from this year. I don't know why I keep saying that. Love it. I also love applying it with a sponge. I find it oddly adds that like nice layer of moisture as you're pressing it into the skin. Instead of just brushing it on with a brush, it's a little less abrasive on your face. I'm a big fan. For contour, no surprise here, Kevyn Aucoin medium sculpting powder, always. I just haven't found anything that can compete with it, really. It's just my go-to year after year. It was my favorite last year. I've previously dipped into the palette life, but I've talked about that a bunch, that I just prefer purchasing one color that I know works for me no matter what, instead of buying a big contour palette that has a bunch of shades that I'm never going to use and that will just sit untouched. So and no matter what comes out, I always find myself going back to the Kevyn Aucoin. It's a beautiful product, and this never dies. Like this entire powder will last me over a year easily, using it every single day. It's gorgeous. If you haven't tried it, definitely recommend picking it up. For bronzer, I kind of dipped it up into different categories because I feel like I used so many different bronzers this year, so much that at one point I said I was on a bronzer no buy, which didn't stick at all. I continued buying bronzers. Bronzer is my favorite product. One of the products I couldn't live without. I love to just bathe my entire body in bronzer. So I kind of have a couple different ones that I've used throughout the year. For a matte bronzer, my favorite was most definitely the Marc Jacobs Tantastic Omega Bronze. This was the limited edition, but I feel like they actually brought it back at one point. But I do believe that this version, this packaging, is now sold out in Sephora, but it is their Omega Tan bronzer, and it's just beautiful. It smells like coconuts. It was part of their summer collection, and the packaging and the product itself, absolutely stunning. And I love to layer up my bronzers. I love to apply a matte bronzer first over top of the contour. This kind of gives like a natural warm glow around the face. I basically trace out the same areas where I apply the contour, but like a little bit bigger of a surface area. I love my e.l.f. large stipple brush for that. And I kind of just apply the matte bronzer everywhere, adding a natural warmth to the face. And then I like to go in with a shimmery bronzer, and I'm gonna mention two because I couldn't pick one. I couldn't pick one between these two because, first of all, the Lila B Sun-Kissed bronzer duo was such a favorite from this year. I traveled with this on every trip I went on. It was so beautiful to have in the summertime because it's a little bit of a deeper shimmery bronze. It just adds such a gorgeous warm glow to the skin, and the packaging is stunning. I think all of Lila B's products have just impressed me so much, but I have to give a little shout out to the limited edition bronzer that came out this year, and that was the Becca Sunrise Waves. I used this one so much. It's a mixture of a couple of their bronzer shades as well as the highlighters in here, and they brought them out over the summer, and I used this so much. I think it's so gorgeous, and because it has the opal in here, it just leaves such a gorgeous shimmery glow onto the skin. And I love to take a shimmery bronzer and just lightly dab that over my face pretty much just where the sun would naturally hit, like where I naturally tan, where I get my freckles, so like across my nose, my cheeks, and also on my forehead. I just like to dust that around, and I feel like it just makes it look like I was just bathing in the sun naturally. So I'm sorry, I cheated here. Those are definitely my favorites, and my favorite from last year was actually the Benefit Hoola bronzer, which I still use and love. I don't really have a rhyme or reason for my bronzers. I kind of just have the pile and I dip into which one, whatever I'm feeling that day. But I think that those were the kind of standout launches and discoveries of 2018, so a lot of bronzer there. I love my bronzer. The same thing kind of goes for me and highlighters. I have my pile of few highlighters, and I kind of just dip into whichever one is most convenient or whichever one I'm into that particular moment. I feel like I rotate between like 4 or 5 on a regular basis. But I think the most impressive launch for me this year was the NARS highlighters. I definitely use these the most consistently throughout the year. This one is the shade Fort de France, and this is Ibiza. I use this one a ton in the summer. I was actually there in Ibiza with NARS, and this was left in our room. So this was kind of the second half of 2018 for me, and then the beginning I was using Fort de France a lot. And I actually dipped into both of them yesterday together, and I thought it was such a beautiful mixture. But last year my favorite was the Becca Opal highlighter, which was definitely a hard one to beat. I feel like that's a constant favorite and go-to in a lot of people's collections, and it's one that I always keep on hand as well, and it's beautiful and it's pretty unmatched. But I feel like NARS did just such a good job with this launch because they brought out so many different shades, and the product is just beautiful. The NARS packaging is gorgeous, and I thought this was just such a lovely launch this year. And I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of cream products too, because I feel like I just really dipped into the world of cream products this year, so I wanted to just touch on the cream products a little bit. I wanted to mention the Nude Sticks, nudies, all over face colors. I have the Bondi Bay bronzer, which I use so much over the summertime, as well as Hey Honey. I think these are just so stunning. The formula is beautiful, and it's so easy to blend out, and it gives such a nice natural finish on the skin, and I use them a ton over the summer and on any of the warm trips I went on this year. And someone recently informed me, I have been complaining about this little brush for so long, and someone said that you can twist it off, and I had no idea. I didn't even attempt. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently you can untwist the brush from these so that you can wash them, and for me, remove them, because they drive me insane. So thank you to whoever that was that tweeted me that, because now it's a lot less wasted space on these, but I thought they were gorgeous. And also towards the beginning of the year, I had mentioned the Hourglass Vanish Stick in the shade Champagne. Flash in a ton of my things I'm loving and get ready with me, so I feel like I had to just say a little hello to this beautiful cream highlighter. This was another amazing launch from Hourglass. They brought out a ton of shades of these. Champagne Flash was my favorite and was a huge favorite throughout the year, so I feel like I had to just make a little cream product section. And if you didn't see my full face using cream products, I will link that in the description box down below for your viewing pleasure. Now for blush, throughout the beginning of the year, I was using the Clinique Rosy Pop blush a lot, which actually surprised me a lot. I didn't remember using that so much, but it was in a ton of my Get Ready With Me's and things I'm loving. But I think my biggest favorite from the year, my most used blush that I can recall, is the Hourglass Brilliant Nude. This is just my favorite blush. It's pushing its way in front of the MAC Warm Soul, I must say, especially since they changed the packaging, and I feel like the new MAC Warm Souls are just not the same as the OG one, and this one is kind of filling that little changed void for me. I think it's just such a lovely everyday blush. However, I will say that I am kind of finding myself missing my Marc Jacobs Flesh and Fantasy blush. The packaging on mine broke and it shattered at one point. It was very devastating, but I feel like that color is what this color is without the aggressive amount of shimmery product in here. So if you want a blush that's a little bit more pigmented than this, because this is very light, almost undetectable on the skin, but I do feel like it gives a really nice natural flush. But if you wanted something a little bit more pigmented, packs a little bit more punch, the Marc Jacobs Flesh and Fantasy would be its equivalent in terms of color, I think. I don't have it right here side by side to look at, but if she was still here, that would probably still be a favorite. And it would appear as though last year I didn't even have a blush favorite. I probably just forgot. My brow favorites remain the Benefit products. Last year, my favorite pencil was still the Precisely My Brow Pencil, except last year it said shade 3, and now I've switched to shade 2. Last year, I really was enjoying their 24-hour brow set, their clear brow gel, but this year, I think the Gimme Brow is definitely a huge favorite from the year. I love that it adds the fibers into the hairs and adds thickness while still kind of cementing it in place. My favorites from the year for sure, I have this in the shade 2 and the Gimme Brow in the shade 1, and I'm just gonna speed through my brow process and brows will magically appear. Wow. Now for eyeshadow, if you guys know me, I'm not the biggest eyeshadow wearer. I usually forego eyeshadow and just put bronzer on my eyelids on a daily basis. But that being said, there are a few palette launches that I was really excited about this year. And my favorite from last year was actually the Marc Jacobs Iconic palettes, which I think have really continued this year. I use the Glambition palette so much. I think it's a beautiful everyday nude palette, but one of my favorite palettes from this year would have to be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. I did my 3 looks using this palette earlier this year. It's just a warm toned lover's eyeshadow palette dream. It's absolutely stunning. So many shades in here for an everyday look, but then those beautiful deeper red toned shades to amp up your looks and make it a little bit more dramatic. This is so gorgeous. One of my favorite palettes that Anastasia Beverly Hills has ever come out with. So that's a huge favorite from this year. That was more so the first half of the year, but over the summer, the Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice palette came out, and I have just been so in love with this. I know I haven't used it very much on my channel, but I did do one get ready with me while we were actually in Spain, which is where I picked this up. And obviously, me being a warm eyeshadow lover, I kind of stuck to this half. I haven't even touched that. I haven't even swatched that blue. Anyway, I just think it's a gorgeous versatile palette. This is one of 2 favorite eyeshadow palettes from this year, and I think it's just gorgeous. The packaging is lovely. I love the versatility of it. The shadows are gorgeous. Those were definitely my favorite palettes from 2018. I'm going to dip a little bit into the Soft Glam palette. I'm not going to do anything crazy today, and I already did my 3 looks using this palette, so I will link that video down below, as well as my Fenty Moroccan Spice palette look in the description box for you guys, but I am just going to keep it light. Nothing too glam today. I'm just dipping into burnt orange and orange soda, mixing these 2 together with a big fluffy brush. I'm just blending that over the eyes. I'm going to put these shadows on my lower lash line as well. And I'm going to leave the shadow at that because I actually wanted to talk about my 2 other eye favorites from the year. First being the Shiseido Aura Dew Solar eyeshadow. My thing is actually popping out. The eyeshadow is just coming out at this point, but it's still working just fine. It's drying up a little bit, which is a little concerning. But last year's favorite was the Dior Meteor eyeshadow, which they have tragically discontinued. You can still find it in some stores and on some sites, but they've discontinued it, which was so sad. But this was a beautiful replacement, and I actually prefer this formula. It is such a gorgeous, very light dusting of just beautiful shimmer. I think it was so beautiful, and it's one of the first products I've used from Shiseido that I've actually continued to use. I wasn't really familiar with their brand before, or many of their products, and this one just, it just adds the most stunning layer of shimmer onto the eyes. I think it takes like a very simple look and adds like a red carpet flair to it. And on Sephora, they have 3 shades of these, which I have all 3. Solar is my favorite. It's that kind of gorgeous goldy champagne color. And I just used this so much, as well as this eyeliner. I didn't include a liner in last year's favorites, but I thought I would give a shout out to the Marc Jacobs highliners. This one in particular is the shade Brownie. I find myself always reaching for this whenever I want to use an eyeliner, whether it be in my waterline or creating a little mini flick. Nothing too intense, you guys know me, but I just think their formula of this and the shade range that they have with their highliners is just to die for. It's so beautiful. They have like some really beautiful bright blues and purples that I don't necessarily use, but I keep because I'm just obsessed. I'll sometimes just sit in front of my liner drawer and just swatch them, and just looking at how vibrant they come out, and the formula is just gorgeous. I love the shade Brownie. Previously, I've loved Coffee Pencil from MAC and Teddy. Those were like my old favorites. I was watching my old favorites from like 2014, which is so crazy to go back and look at. I look like a completely different human. I had no lips and my hair was brown, and I didn't really wear bronzer, but back in my MAC days, the MAC Coffee and Teddy were always my favorites because I always like to use a brown liner instead of a black. I find it to be a little bit less harsh, but it still intensifies the eyes. It still has the kind of same effect, like making your lash line look thicker and kind of opening up the eye area. So I'm just using my MAC 208 brush to pencil this out. My favorite mascara from this year, surprise, surprise, the Lancome Monsieur Big Mascara. Same favorite as last year. It's just the mascara that I continue to go back to. It never fails me. And they also have a waterproof version that I used on a couple of my vacays. I did an in-video test. It was actually the Tulum vlog where we went jumping in the cenotes, the little holes of water, the pools of water in Mexico, and I put the waterproof Monsieur Big mascara on and it didn't budge. I was swimming in those all day long and I still had lashes. It was magical. But if you haven't tried the Lancome Monsieur Big mascara, I really recommend that you do if you're looking for a volumizing mascara. If you're looking for like a lifting, lengthening, defining mascara, this one probably isn't it, but if you just want thick, intense volume, this will be the mascara for you. For lips, I've got a lot of lip favorites. I'm going to start with lip liner. My favorite liner from last year was the Makeup Forever 3C Aqua Lip Liner, which they still have, but I found myself going for more of the brown side of liner, which was the number 5C Aqua Lip Liner, which they have discontinued. It saddens me so much that they discontinued the liner, but 5C was my favorite from the year for sure. My replacement for that has now become MAC Strip Down, which I'm going to apply on my lips now. It's a close color relative that I have in my collection and it's been suiting me just fine. And I also forgot how much I really loved the MAC lip pencil formula. It's a beautiful formula, very creamy and very pigmented. Yeah, so dear Makeup Forever, how dare you. So now for lip products. Towards the beginning of the year, I actually went to LA with Lancome for their L'Absolu Lacquer launch, and they have been a favorite ever since. I have continued to use these all year long. The L'Absolu Lacquer formula is like a liquid lipstick and lip stain and lipstick and lip balm all in one. It's just a combination of any lip product that you could possibly dream of putting on your lips. It's so beautiful. You kind of build up the pigmentation as you put layers on, and you can make it as intense as you want. So you can put one sheer layer on and it'll be like a very nice light tinted lip balm. You can pack it on until it's like a thick pigmented liquid lipstick. It dries down, but it doesn't go completely matte. It stays very comfortable on your lips. You can't feel it. So beautiful. I was so excited about this launch. My two favorite shades are 274 and 515. 274 here, just a gorgeous sheer beige, a really lovely nude, and then 515 is like a reddish orange. It's so gorgeous. This is the first sheer layer and you can build it up to be more intense. It is gorgeous. I think I'm actually going to put 515 on right now. I just like to put a sheer layer on and kind of blend it around my lips to just put a nice light tint. Oh, I also really loved 168. I don't have that with me, but that was another one of my favorite shades of the L'Absolu Lacquer range. Just gives your lips such a nice sheer juicy finish. So beautiful. Such a beautiful launch this year. My next favorite would definitely have to be the Dior Matte Lip Glow. The 101 Matte Pink and the 102 Matte Raspberry. I think out of the two, the Matte Raspberry was my most favorite. I love this formula. I wore it so much. It's a very like vibrant pink color, but it's so sheer, and because it's their lip glow formula, it's matte, but it's still totally moisturizing on the lips. So good. I've used this so much. It has a really strong peppermint flavor, which if you're like Sam and you hate mint, you're gonna despise the scent of that, but I personally love mint. It's very fresh and it just feels so good on the lips and looks beautiful too. Loved the matte lip glows. I really hope that they extend that shade range because I would love to see more colors in this. I would love to see what they do with like a sheer red. I'm obsessed. Then I also wanted to talk about the launches from Burt's Bees. Redwood Forest, their matte lip crayon, was a huge discovery for me this year. They're just so beautiful. I love this shade. It was perfect for fall. And it's such an easy product to use. You just put one swipe on and you're done. You can rub it in with your fingers, make it more pigmented and intense if you want, but so beautiful. Huge favorite from the year, as well as their Suede Splash lipstick. I discovered this a little bit later into the year. It's a gorgeous nude, kind of like a taupey nude, I would say, for a drugstore product. So good. Huge favorite from this year. I think they are just so stunning. And I wanted to just toss this in at the end of the lipsticks because though it wasn't a favorite from the entire year, I feel like I have to give a shout out to Lisa Eldridge lipsticks, because if Lisa Eldridge makes a product, you listen and you buy it and you wear it. Lisa Eldridge is just the genius when it comes to makeup in general, but her lip products, anything she's done with Lancome, anything she's recommended in the past, it's the holy grail. And when she came out with her own lipsticks, I just about shrieked. I got these in the mail, she sent them to me, and I wanted to cry. I am framing that note forever, putting it above my bed. That's a little intense, but you know what I mean. Anyway, she came out with 3 red lipsticks, 3 red shades that will just work for every single skin tone, and it's kind of, she dealt with each undertone so beautifully. My favorite one is the Velvet Morning. I love a kind of bright orangey red lipstick, and this is her formula. It's like a very powdery matte. It goes on your lips like a stain. You can't feel it. It's not thick at all. It's just such a beautiful wash of color. But I just wanted to toss that in there because I just thought that was such a wonderful launch from Lisa Eldridge. She did an amazing job, and the lipsticks are so beautiful. So I simply had to include it in my lipstick favorites. And with that, my friends, those are all of my favorites from the year. Those are my beauty favorites of 2018. There were so many products that I just blabbed on and on and on about, but I hope it was helpful for you guys to see them being applied to my face as I use them. And I really want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorites have been through the last year. I really hope that you guys enjoyed taking a peek through my favorite, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm going to link all of the products that I've talked about in this video in the description box down below, as well as my last year's favorites. I saw Anna do that. I'll link her video down below. I thought it was brilliant. She's done, I think she said it was her 9th yearly beauty favorites video that she posted, and every single favorite she posted all of the past favorites throughout the 9 years. I thought that was really cool. So I'll link Anna's video down below, and all the products I've mentioned here. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!